Welcome, everyone. Welcome. This is so exciting. We're starting to welcome everyone in. You should know that this meeting is being recorded for the replay purposes of me action. So if you want to have your cameras off, that's totally fine. If you want to leave it on, that's also great. Just know your video will appear in the replay for the organization. So this is awesome. As we're welcome everyone in, just say hi in the chat, enter your name and where are you tuning in from. This is so awesome to be able to teach this self-portrait class. And as we keep on welcoming people in and making people get cozy in the chat from Australia, Nikki, that's awesome. Adrienne from Oakland, Giada from Italy, Cynthia from Oregon. Wow. Oh my God. This is all over the country and all over even outside of the country. This is just so exciting so diverse. I love it from everywhere. I want to make sure that everybody stays muted unless it's the Q&A part. And then that time we can make sure that you are able to talk or say it in the chat. I'm going to just get started in terms of introducing myself in a minute, and feel free to, interact with each other in the chat. If you know each other already, you feel free to, have fun with it and cheer each other on. This is a workshop. This is not just me talking. So it's going to be very interactive, and you're going to get to, you're going to be able to actually do a lot of the things as we go. I'm going to leave time for taking action as well. So that is really exciting, because I think a lot of the times just doing it does it. I feel like a lot of people try to do things, but they're not really doing it, but doing it does it. So by the end of this workshop, you're going to be able to live with something and to be able to take it even farther. So I guess I'm just going to get started and introduce myself. My name is Lucia, and I work with coaches and business owners, helping them feel confident being seen so they can authentically show up as the face of their brand. I have a master's in spiritual psychology, and I've been a photographer for 10 years or more. Actually, I kind of stopped counting a while ago, but I keep saying 10 years, so I just added the plus. Working with hundreds of business owners and people in general, just like have a very person-centered approach. And I'm in LA, so I'm in the sunny California. And also, I'm also from Argentina originally, but I moved here in 2010. So if you hear a little bit of an accent, that's why. I don't want you to keep thinking, oh, where is that accent from? I want you to focus on the material. So that's why I share that. So I'm going to cover a lot today, and I value your time and your energy. So I'm going to be super, I'm going to make it as streamlined as possible. Of course, if you need anything along the way, if you have questions, you can use the chat function in Zoom. And if you're watching this later and you have any questions you want to ask me, feel free to DM me on Instagram at the Lucias. And, if you see any slides that really like, wow, that was amazing, just like, feel free to take a screenshot and just share it on Instagram and tag me too. Again, use the chat box or DM me if you're watching the replay. This is going to be able to, you're going to be able to pause and take action if you're watching the replay anyway. But when you're watching it live, we're going to do this together. So we're going to learn today my framework to take high quality photos of yourself without feeling awkward. And before we dig in, I wanted to share a little bit of my background so you kind of know where I'm coming from and how I got here learning about self-portraits. Besides being a photographer, like just taking my own photos has always been hard. Especially when I was younger and like Instagram was starting. And I remember like this was my first selfie that I ever posted. And I feel like I was always trying to conceal like what made me feel like that I thought I looked better, or like what I thought I was judging about myself that I didn't want to show on camera. But I was really hiding a lot, and I felt awkward every time I was on camera. I felt like I wasn't perfect enough, and I was hiding a lot behind my work as a photographer. I always had like tons of content to post, and I also posted a lot of like cat photos, always hiding, like not showing myself, but showing like, oh, here's my cats, here's the things, like let me show you, here's this beautiful like scenery that I'm visiting. And I realized, because of my background in spirit psychology, I realized that it wasn't until I started doing the work and applying the tools that I already knew as I was doing my own photos that I was able to just feel so much ease and comfort and just have a different relationship to being in front of the camera. And this is kind of like what I'm going to teach you today too, besides the technical parts of taking your photo. But what I did, I was started creating, like I started getting more creative and just getting myself more out there with my photos. I became more visible as a result. Like I was allowing people to see me. My business changed a lot, and like people felt like more like closer to me, I guess, or like there was more transparency, I guess, from my work and myself. But I felt like super comfortable in my own body, and I felt like comfortable in my own skin. I struggled with eating disorders, and like having something that is just so revealing like this photo out there, like I would have cringed and I would have never posted it in the past. But like now I love this woman that I see in this photo, and I think she's perfect just the way she is. And today, not only I am able to do self-portraits, but I've shifted my relationship to my body and being seen, which I think is huge. So I kind of want you to imagine what would it feel like if you truly felt comfortable in front of the camera while feeling safe to be seen. So let's just dive right in. And as we're getting started, I'm going to pause along the way and give you time to do these exercises. I'm want to confirm with everyone. Do you see a worksheet or a workbook attachment on the chat? Do you see it? If not, I might need to re-upload it. Or has anyone had access to the workbook? I'm gonna attach it one more time. Let me know if you see a PDF. Oh, sorry, I think I just sent it to, let me put it to everyone. Let's get back to this. I'm gonna attach it again. Let me know if you see it. Give me a thumbs up. It's in the chat. Great, awesome. So feel free to download. It's a fillable workbook, so you can use it now, or you can fill it out later if you want to. And the first part is about creating something that really, comes from a place of like, wow, what if, like, what would it look like to have it photos that look exactly what I wanted? Like, if I could have it all my way, what would my photos look like? So, yesterday, and I'm not sure when did you all started with the storytelling workshop, but there are some stories that came up that you are writing about your perspective. And the first part of kind of like creating an image starts with a mood board, a source of inspiration to get clear of your photo shoot goals. So a lot of the times when I see people trying to get creative with a photo is that they show up to take a photo and then like they have no idea what they're gonna do because they have no plan. Your mood board is your plan, right? So we're gonna start with this first step of how to easily create a self-portrait mood board. So in your story that you were able to create in the previous workshop, what was the essence or the quality of your story that you wrote or that you decided to tell? What is the essence that you would like to communicate that represents that story? What is the key learning you received from that experience? Maybe it's patience, maybe it's vulnerability, maybe is knowing how to ask for help, so receiving. Maybe there's a kind of a quality or an essence that you may be able to kind of like distill from the big story into how to tell it with a photo, right? So we want to kind of capture the essence or the quality. What is your inner strength that, or a learning that you got from, that you developed because of that story? What is a positive quality or not? It doesn't have to be positive. It can be anything you want, that you would like to communicate and experience through this self-portrait. And I want you to distill it into 1, 2, 3 words. And you can either say it in the chat, like some of the qualities that come up for you, maybe maybe you just fill it out in the worksheet. Whatever it is for you, you can feel free to take a few minutes to come up with 1, 2, 3 words. Smiling despite fatigue. Still adventurous. Oh, Colin, I love that. Still adventurous. Like, oh, I'm going to show you some photos later. I think that you're going to be able to draw from that. Vulnerable courage, strong, playful, beautiful, savor the small things, presence despite being in bed, empowered, not defeated, determination, strength, hope. These are beautiful. Yes, still strong, self-reliance, patience. These are beautiful qualities in essence, and I'm so excited to see how you create something with these next, and I'm going to show you how. Alive yet not living, that's powerful. Whimsy, rest, begin. Beautiful. So the next step is using those words. We're going to create an affirmation around your self-portrait using I am statements. So feel free to play. Maybe you want to create a few sentences. Maybe you want to create just one long one, maybe one short one. Whatever works for you. This is going to be your new mantra as you go in this, as you embark in this self-portrait journey, because there's a lot that comes up for us as we go through this process. So it's nice to have a place of focus, not only for inspiration for the photos, but also just for us to be connected to the intention behind it. I am here. I am strong. Yes, feel free to share in the chat. I love reading these. I'm still beautiful. I am waiting. I'm still me. I love that. I really love these affirmations. I am lovable. I am courageous. Don't you just love courage? Such a great word. I am true to who and what I am. I am empowered, says Jennifer. Beautiful. I am just so full just reading your affirmations. I feel like we are all of these qualities. We are all of these essences. And I think it's important that it's not that we're seeking something that is outside of ourselves. It's something that we are awakening or becoming more aware that exists within us already. So the next step, I am imaginative. I'm connected to the universe. Yes. So using those words, we're just going to find inspirational images for our self-portrait. And we can do this either on Pinterest or on Instagram. So you can grab in the quality that you want and add the word photoshoot towards the end. So I'm going to share another screen of a mood board that I created for this class specifically. So this is, I'm going to drop this link if you want to, I kind of, my mom has Sjogren's syndrome. Well, she had Sjogren's syndrome her whole life. And I grew up with someone that has a, you know, a long-term autoimmune disease. And I was trying to get in the space of what are some of the qualities that you would have chosen. And I kind of came up with some inspirational photos for you to kind of turn of what this could look like. So some of them, I also added the word, for example, like if you are in bed and you can't really just walk outside or go to any place to take your photo that you want to take, or like in terms of what you want to create, like maybe add that element to your search. So maybe you can come up with like fun photos that you can do in bed. So I added like some photos that are like some resting, some that are kind of like positive qualities, and some of them that are just kind of like the shadow aspect of that quality, because I think they're both very valuable and very I think they're very, like, it creates a representation of the expression that is very accurate. And you can also go very like the photojournalistic type, you know, you're just literally sharing like, wow, now that this experience has happened, these are like new things that I can do instead of the things that I used to do, or new passions that I have found, or for example, or quite the opposite, things that I can no longer do, but I'm still like miss or have nostalgia about, or maybe grabbing words that represent the things that you can no longer do, or you want to do, or you want to experience through your story. Maybe it's just in the expression. Maybe there's an expression that really calls you in, of strength, or wonder, or joy. Maybe there's like embracing rest as one of the qualities. Like I feel like one of the things that I find, well, obviously this is an ad, right? So we're gonna take it with a pinch of salt, what we want to take from this image. But for example, like embracing rest as a positive experience instead of like burning out, you know. I feel like this is for waiting, could be a great, you know, imagery. So whatever it is for you, you can also go here on search and type in, let's see, grab some of your words. Empowered, lovable, courageous, waiting. Well, I actually used the waiting one, waiting photo. And make sure that it says all pins. So some of these could be inspirational, and some of these can be, you know, you can start pinning. You can do like save and start saving some. As you do this, I'm gonna give you a few more minutes to go through these exercise, so that you can come up with some inspiration for your mood board.
Lucia, just to let you know, for some of us, we still can't see the workbook that you added to the chat. If you could just drop the link again.
I think Barbara just added it again. And there's the person, yes, Stephen at Me Action is in charge of thank you so much for asking. There's someone doing the tech part. So yes. Yes. Okay. Holly says we will share it on our site as well if you have issues still. But you should be able to see like a PDF, Adobe PDF thing on the chat right now. Let me know if you got it and just confirm that you were able to get it. And we make sure that you're taken care of. Also, let me know if you need me to repeat the link to the Pinterest board that I created for the class. I'm just going to put it just in case. And also, like, feel free to pin a bunch of photos. Like, it doesn't have to be like your final idea. It's more about getting an essence of what could it be, right? Even if you don't know yet how you would do it. All you need to do is like 50% chance that you could do it. If you believe that, that's great. And I'm going to touch on finalizing some of these aspects in a bit. So I'm going to go back here. Okay. So as we're finalizing, the next step would be to create a shot list. So reviewing like all of the images that you came about, maybe there's a pose you want to try, there's a background you want to check, like for example, you're deciding on the location, like, oh, I would love to do this in my bedroom. So you kind of need to create a checklist of your decisions that you want to make about the photo. And I can, sometimes it's just as simple as putting it in like a notes app, but since you have already the workbook, feel free to just add links from the Pinterest board that you created into the workbook, so you know your finals, like your final decisions or any notes you want to make about the photo you want to create. So you're gonna start deciding, what are you going to wear? Is there any props that you want to need, that you will need for the photo? For example, like if you want to if your new way of living has made you embrace to do more activities for entertainment or like hobbies that require less mobility, what are they? Maybe if you want to take a photo of like some I don't know, like a new thing for I'm going to show you later in a bit. Like for example, I had a client who is a type 1 diabetes coach. She's also a type 1. So for example, do you want to make sure that you show your insulin pump and embrace like what some of the new things that are part of your life now? That is exciting and that's amazing. And we want to make sure that we're going to use it in our photo too, because it's like embracing where we are today. Maybe that's your theme. That's great. I'm just trying to pick up from what happened in the chat. So I'm trying to speak from the references that you also shared. And if you're having trouble like coming up with ideas, I want to hear in the chat, how close do you are to feeling like you found some inspiration? Give me a yes, a 1 for yes, or a 2 if you're still working on it. Okay, so Barbara already has her inspiration. That's awesome. 1.5 versus Rebecca. 1.5. Okay, I love a 0.5. That's great. Okay, so it seems like some of you are still working on it, and also like feel free to come back to this exercise later on and just revise some of the inspiration that you were drawn to and come back to it, you know. And the good thing about inspiration is that, for example, like I remember I was doing a photo shoot for a new offer that I want to put out that's called my one-on-one practice for coaching. Is called Aligned Presence. And I remember just thinking like, this part of my life, and this new way of working with people, it really made me embrace freedom. Like, and so a lot of like photos, even though they were beautiful photos that I could find on Pinterest or Instagram, they didn't evoke that freedom quality when I saw them. So I only chose photos that really evoked freedom to me. So it's a very personal thing, right? So I want to make sure that you are feeling connected with the inspiration that you're getting. Holly says, made progress, but definitely need to dig in more later. Great, that's great. I'm so glad you got started. I'm so glad you worked. You showed up. You tried a little bit because we only have a few minutes for each exercise. So it's great. This usually takes me 30 minutes. So feel free to come back at it and spend some time with that quality that you want to express and finding inspiration. So then we need to decide when and where, right? If you're shooting inside, some of you will, mornings are best because it has the brightest light. So you want to make sure that you're close to a window, or if not, at least some sort of natural light. But if you're doing inside, mornings are best. And if you're shooting outdoors, sunset is best. And so this is the photo that I was telling you about, my type 1 diabetes coach. And she's rocking her insulin pump because it's something that she used to feel embarrassed about when she got asked when she was younger. And now she rocks it with a bikini and she loves it. So I love that she embraced this in this photo that we took together in Malibu. Obviously, this is just like, not everybody has access to Malibu. We're all in different parts of the world. But if you're doing it outdoors, try to look for places in nature or in your backyard, or places that, like in moments where also maybe there's not a lot of people around. Taking a self portrait can be a very how can I say, like, it's an experience that is not necessarily like the thing that you would want to have a lot of people looking at you when you're first getting started. So um, make sure that if you're choosing a public place, that is like something, a time of the day, or like a moment when there's not much people around. Then we are going to, oh, and you're going to put it in the calendar. If it's not in the calendar, it's not going to happen. So schedule it once you make your decision. And then you're going to kind of like get ready to start producing the photo. And if you don't have a tripod, you don't need to buy one for this. Literally, like, anything can be a tripod if you believe in yourself. And I've done bookshelves, coffee mugs, books, chairs with like books stuck on them. So like anything can be a tripod. You just need to make sure that the phone doesn't fall. You know, um, and so you can try by opening the camera app, and while you are placing it so that you're setting your shot the way you want it first, while you're creating the tripod, the makeshift tripod. And obviously, if you have a tripod and a clicker, like, you're golden, because then you don't have to struggle with like finding the right book at the right height. Um, and so the next part is when you start taking your self-portrait, you're going to open your front-facing camera and you're going to practice the pose that you want to do. So you're just going to stand there in front of the camera and see how you would pose for the shot. You're going to take a deep breath. You're going to do micro movements until you're comfortable. And you're going to see how it looks. Honestly, like, if you want to turn it on video and record it to be able to see later, like revise what you did, that's even better. And even if you only did this part of the self-portrait, like, I would be so proud of you just for doing the work, because most phones these days, the front-facing camera is even better. Like, this is an iPhone 10, the one that I do this with, and I think that like right now that I have an iPhone 13 Pro, and like the camera is insane. So even if you just do use a front-facing camera, that's amazing. If you have a phone that is like a 10 or 7 or an 8, then I would recommend using the camera on the back. So this camera is 1,000 times better than this front facing camera. So for your self portrait, if you want to do a little bit of high quality, you can just turn your phone, make sure that it's on the frame that you want it. And because if you don't have a clicker and you need to go back and forth, then you're going to be tired just by taking 3 photos, right? So what you're going to do is like you're going to set it on to video, and you're going to hit play, and you're going to go into position, and you're going to switch through poses. You're going to do micro movements. You're going to breathe. Remember to breathe, because breathing is so important. It's the one thing that we forget to do as soon as we get nervous in front of the camera. And just reminding yourself to breathe, and also to tune into your intention as well. Just remind the first intention in the first place that you wrote down in the beginning of this exercise. And then we're going to go through the footage and we're going to see what we liked. And you can either take a screenshot, or you can actually use an app called Frame Grabber. And I think it's for both Android and iPhone. So you can just go to the App Store and type in Frame Grabber, and you would be able to grab a really high quality frame from your video. So it's literally like grabbing a photo from your video. And that is amazing, because then you don't have to go back and forth to click, and you are able to just do it all in one go. And you get to breathe, you get to pose, you get to try new things, and it's amazing. I have a DSLR, and so when I do my own photos, I even sometimes do that with my DSLR. I set it up to film and I move. And sometimes I just set it up to like a self timer, and I put the self timer on a burst mode. So like it takes like every second it takes a photo until I tell it to stop. So that's like obviously some more advanced techniques, but most of you will be using your phones. So this is such a great technique, and it's so easy, and it's such a no-brainer to be able to try new things without like whatever, right? Like a photo is like just, Betsy says Apple Watch can remotely trigger on iPhone. Even better. Like if you will have that, an Apple Watch, even better. Like use everything you have to your advantage and try things out. Just know you're not going to like all of your photos. You're probably going to like 1 or 2 or 3 from a whole session. And that is totally okay. So one thing that I see people is not editing their photos or using just the Instagram filters like I used to do in that first selfie I showed you. Tragic. So in photography, 50% of your image is in the editing, especially with digital technology. Like if we used to a film camera, you would get already like the film. Each film had its own quote unquote filter in a way. They had their own like hues and colors that they would make the a photo look more red or more green or more blue. So in the worksheet, you're going to find a few editing apps that I recommend to get started. They're all free. Even Lightroom, if you're using it on your phone, Lightroom is free. And I do have a Lightroom preset that you can try when you are editing your image. And I'm just putting the link to my Lightroom preset so you can get it on your email. Basically, just to be able to edit on one click, if that makes sense. And here's why you're the most qualified person to take your own photos, even if you feel awkward. You're the one that knows exactly what you love about yourself, and you know when you look good in a photo. I've had hundreds of clients, and honestly, like some of my favorite photos, it's never their favorite photo. And that's just to show you, like, it's not about, it's all about what you think, right? It's all about your own perspective of what you see is what you like. And I believe we're all beautiful in our own unique way. And self portraiture is just a self awareness tool where you learn what you love about yourself. And experimenting with camera angles is going to empower you to be on the driver's seat of your photo shoot instead of setting the camera and hoping for the best. And You decide what you want to show and what you feel safe sharing. So right now, you might not feel entirely safe to be seen on your whole body. Maybe there's a part of your body you want to, like maybe you want to show your hand, and that's totally okay. I think it's important to understand that this is for you, for not for anyone else. And you are the one that needs to feel safe to share what you're sharing. I believe that being in front of the camera, it's tightly related to how we feel about being seen. And I just think the camera is just this big eye that is watching us, right? So I used to use like posing as a tool to make myself look skinnier or conceal like the part of my body that I was judging. And the more I mastered the art of like feeling safe to be seen in front of the camera and relating to myself as I was in front of the camera, it wasn't about posing anymore. It was about what I needed to let go of to think that I wasn't perfect enough. And I did that through self compassion, forgiveness, and letting go of the misbeliefs of whatever was happening there for me. And so I want to invite you to kind of look at this with an open mind. But if there was any moment in your life when it felt unsafe to be seen, you maybe feel uncomfortable in front of the camera, and that is totally okay. So, one of the main principles in spiritual psychology is how we relate to the issue, or how we relate to yourself as you go through the issue is the issue. And so, I believe that how we relate to the camera is the issue, not the issue. So we're going to work on that a little bit today, and I'm going to be opening it up for questions and Q&A and coaching, because I think this is a very important part of this exercise. So you're going to write this down. And you can do this on your worksheet, or just, you can do this at a meditation too, just checking in, just spending some time in silence with yourself. But was there any moment where it felt unsafe to be seen? And if so, what does that part inside of yourself needs right now to feel safe? And that is the key. You need to give that to yourself in that moment. So I'm going to give you some moment to write this down, to meditate on this question, to just bask in these questions with curiosity and an open mind, just knowing that this is a gentle approach about being with yourself and nothing else. Okay. How is everyone doing? Give me a thumbs up, or yeah. Is everyone doing okay? Yeah, good. You guys are so good. So let's go through a check of what we learned today. You learned my framework to create high quality photos of yourself whenever you need. And you saw that you are the most qualified person to take your own photos, and what to do if you're feeling awkward in front of the camera and how to fix that. And now I want to open it up to Q&A. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a second. And since we are not that many, I want you to raise your digital hand. I guess you can do that if you know how to go to reactions and click on raise hand if you have questions, or if there's anything that came up for you in the last exercise or throughout the whole presentation. We have at least 15 minutes, so I think we can get as many of you as possible. And I would love to hear from you. Just go ahead and just raise your hand if there's anything you would like to share or anything that came up for you, any awarenesses that you had. Okay, Barbara.
Hi, thank you so much. This is such a treat to have this with you today, so really appreciate it. I like those. I think it's so smart to look at Pinterest. I hadn't crossed my mind, but I really like the shots that kind of show what I would call behind the scenes. Like they kind of give you a peek, and I feel like that's part of what's happening for me. There's my public face and my performative self, and then there's stuff that happens that, most people don't see have any window into. So I don't know yet so that's like a concept I really like, and I don't know exactly what I would want to show, but I like kind of seeing the inner workings, like the sense that there's, you can see part of the photography equipment, or you can see something that maybe you're not exactly supposed to see. It's imperfect in the shot or something. So I don't know if you have a reaction to that, but that's kind of what inspired me.
Well, the first image that came to my mind when you said that is like, what if you were to split the screen in two?
Okay.
And in frame on one side, it's like the aspect that you think is the curated side. And then the other aspect would be the part that is kind of the behind the scenes. This could also be with like having, and you could do it on the apps that I mentioned, like the Snapseed or that are in the workbook. But what if like half of your screen was kind of blurry and then the other half was not? So like you could bring some things to the forefront, right? It's like some things that are kind of like, lost in the background, or they just become part of the picture.
Awesome.
I wonder what's the front facing part and what is the behind the scenes for you? Would you mind sharing more about that?
Well, I mean, smiling, showing up, sitting upright, smiling, brushing my hair, putting on lipstick, anything that is like being in a public kind of form, looking, like I'm part of society. That's like, my feeling about it. And then, the behind the scenes is all the stuff you don't, that's not uplifting, not inspiring, sad, upsetting, demoralizing, embarrassing, whatever, painful, obviously. So I'm kind of playing with how to symbolically do that. I kind of like the idea of blurry versus focused, or something that doesn't have to show. I'm not going to show my, my most worst pathetic, moments that would feel really vulnerable at this point.
Well, it's interesting. I feel like I don't know. I feel like when I'm not in my best self, books and bugs pile up by my bedside.
Totally. That's good.
Like, and this is just me I don't know what else it is for you that comes up, right? But like me not being my best self can look like laundry that I haven't done in weeks, or just dishes that I don't want to do.
Yeah. Well, I see where you're going. No, I love it. Yeah.
Just half my hair is like the front of my head is like combed, but like the back that you don't see on Zoom is a mess. Or I don't know. I think that you could definitely play a lot with like make a list of all the things and then just like visually play with it and maybe look for inspiration that also matches the things that are in your list that will give you more information.
Awesome. Thank you.
Do you feel good about that?
Totally. That's great.
Awesome. Next up, I think it was Liz.
So Barbara touched on some of the questions I had, but basically, like when you were showing the Pinterest mood boards, very few of those people are sick. Like so many of us on this call are really sick, and I don't want to necessarily post pictures of myself looking horrible, but that's my reality now. So for something like Millions Missing, I want to show up as, hey, this disease hurts. This is painful. I'm enduring, but damn it all, I'm really in pain. And I have struggled with how to show that in any kind of picture, because I don't think photographing myself when I feel this bad, this is like the last thing I want to do. So I guess my question is, I'm really sick. How do I show myself that's authentic while also not being like really freaking depressing or making someone want to look away?
Yeah. One of my questions that comes up for me right now is, what was your story that you're going to be like, did you do the exercise of the story as well on the previous workshop?
Yes, I went to the storytelling workshop. Yes.
What are some of the elements in your story? Is it the pain? Was it the quality that you came up with?
Actually, the key element of my story is that it's been 30 years. I've struggled with this disease for 30 years, and I want to amplify that. But it's a really difficult thing to, I think it's a very difficult thing to talk about, right? Because it's pretty depressing.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I think 30 years is a huge number. And I wonder, what are some of the things that, or the elements of things that you can also bring from 30 years ago? I wonder, I'm not sure how old you are today, but I'm saying, like, is there any moment before and after, and what are some of the things that you saw change and that keep, like, from day one 30 years ago and today are still kind of like the constant? Maybe an idea, if you find any common themes, this is obviously without knowing you personally and your whole story, but if you find some elements, is there something that an element that you can photograph? You don't need to be in the picture yourself in order to communicate your pain. You could be in the picture. I'm just saying it's an invitation for you to, it can be a symbolic thing, or it can be more of like a storytelling, like, here's my journal, like if you were in the newspaper, a photo of person, so I wonder if there's an element in your story that you could bring that's like, like I've had, for example, one of the things that I saw, I can only talk from my experience of being a daughter of someone that has a disease, that had a disease for many years, my whole life. She's been sick. And one of the things is like so many scars, right? Like her body was a map. And like, if I could take a photo of every scar she ever had and make it beautiful anyway, or embrace it as something beautiful, like that's something that I would want to see if I was going to be like super out and front and center, right? Maybe there's for example, like the evolution, for example, of my type 1 diabetes client. She had, before she had to measure like how much she ate and how much insulin she needed, and like it was like a constant journal. And now she can do it all from an app. So like having both was for her one of the ideas that she had of like the transition of time in her disease. One of the things that also comes up for me, as I hear you, is you don't need to show your face if you don't want to. And so if you were not to show any of that, is there any way that you could pose your body that shows the expression that you want to communicate?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to give that some thought. I really liked you giving Barbara a suggestion about making things out of focus. I mean, what we're talking about is an invisible disease, right?
Yeah, I know.
So
yeah.
I could pull out some old prescriptions and things like that, but it's an invisible disease. So this is something that's just going to require more thought. But thank you for those suggestions.
When you say that, the prescriptions, I mean, obviously this is like so out there, and obviously just know that, okay, yes, I'm in this one. Just know that these are photo shoots, right? So obviously there's not gonna be obviously she's posing for, like, you know, she's modeling for this photo. But I'm just saying, like, what if you grab the prescriptions and you broke them and you covered a part of your scars, or if you had any, or I'm making this up obviously, but like, I love how she used the paper. So maybe there's, when you said prescriptions, like, how can you use the paper in a creative way? Is there anything else that you want to share that we could use as like some other elements that maybe inspires more ideas of your story?
No, I'm going to have to give this some thought. Nothing else jumps to mind. No.
You can also, one idea just have is, could be a close-up of like, I feel like our eyes communicate so much, like in your expression. You could be just a close-up of your eyes. I'm just saying, because it is invisible, right? You don't see it. So like the fact that you're seeing your eyes is something that you see with, I think it's powerful too. Who's next? Jennifer? No, I think Wade was after.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, Wade.
First of all, thank you very much for doing this for us all. It's been wonderful. My question is, I understand about the lighting and your comments about getting, you know, the early morning or the evening light or whatever. You know, the reality is certainly in my lived experience is that a lot of my time is spent in darkness, you know, or low light. So what about taking pictures in low light or something like that to convey that aspect of the illness?
I love that idea. Obviously, I have a whole course on self-portraits. Lighting is a whole module. I could only share that much on a short class, like an hour. But I think that there's an image here. So this image, it's done in low light and it's kind of orange. And the reason it's orange is, I'm guessing she has a candle or something that is like a very, how can I say this? Like, the lighting is very orangey. So it seems like it's a candle or something, like from in that sense. Would
a ring light with a filter on it
if you
help?
had it, oh my God, yes. If you had a ring light and you wanted to do something. Okay, so if I wanted to, okay, let's bring it back. So if I wanted to to basically show darkness, you need to show light. Yes. There needs to be contrast. So what if all we could see was your silhouette? I don't know if there's like a room that we could have, like maybe you can do this at night. So you could, there's like that, like, or later. So there's like that darkness. You can also bring, I'm going to open my camera. So one thing that you can do is, okay, I'm going to do. So when you do, and you see the box come up, the yellow box, when you press and hold, you can also slide your finger down to make the exposure darker.
Yep.
Do you see that? And if I bring it up,
then it brightens.
Yes.
Yep.
So you can also play with exposure in your phone to make something darker or something lighter. And you can also edit it later to make something darker or lighter. So one thing that you could do, for example, if you go to a window and let's say let's say you're looking at straight at the window, so the light is coming right here, and you were to put the camera right here, and you were to decrease the exposure, even if it's not at night, the last of your face would be bright, but the rest of your face would be dark. I would also explore doing it in black and white. It seems that it would be very powerful.
Yeah, that was the other thought I had. Okay, great.
Actually,
Thank you.
yeah, awesome. Does that answer it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. I can't wait to see all these photos. So exciting. Okay, and then I think Adrian had, and then Luera.
Yeah, I was wondering about, so one thing that Liz mentioned that sort of pinged for me was, so a lot of people are in one environment for a really long time, like they're in one room or they're in one bed. So I was wondering if you had like tips for kind of making that theme come alive. Like this has been my space for a really long time, and it's sort of a confined space or a limited space.
Wow. So that just even gave me one idea right now. And it's not a photo. I mean, it could be a photo, but it's actually a time-lapse video of eating, reading, moving through the room, and just like having one shot of the full room. And one thing that you can do is like, obviously you could do a time lapse, right? Of you going about your day. I mean, I don't know if that's a submission you can do, but I think that could be a really cool visual of like, you're in this kind of this box, this room, and all of your activities are in this room. The other idea is in Snapseed, the app that I mentioned on, I think I can do this on the phone and show you. Just use this. There's a tool called Double Exposure. And you can use multiple images. It's in Snapseed. Obviously, you would have to play around with it. It's just like it's super intuitive, and it just has a thing that says double exposure and tools. And you can create a video of all the activities that you would do in the room, and then take it with a frame grabber. You can just grab the frames of each pose that you like the best of each activity, and then you can just do a double exposure of like merging all of the images together. That's just one idea that came up. Another idea, does that help?
Yeah, that's great. That's really interesting.
Awesome. And I also I think that playing with maybe you know how some people like go to work and they have like the the shirt on top, but like maybe just sweatpants on the bottom. If there's like some element to your life that feels kind of like disjointed like that, maybe it can something that you can bring to life with your how you dress or how you're preparing for the day. Maybe combining two activities together. Or just putting like two versions of yourself in the room in the double exposure. Just you don't need to do a bazillion poses, but maybe just playing with two. Does that help? Awesome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm so glad. Okay, I think Luera is, I know we're almost done. I know, so sorry everyone. I hope to get as many questions as possible.
Hi, so I'm there with so many people that have been sick for a long time, since 1985. And some years are much better than other years, but generally I don't sustain for a long time. So, you know, this year I seem to be receding more into the shadows. So I'm kind of seeing myself kind of just disappearing underneath scarves and hats and sunglasses or something like that. But as you were talking, I started thinking about, well, you know, so much of my issue is brain fog when I get tired. And what would it be like being wrapped up in some sort of a sheer material? And, you know, where my life, when I look at everything, looks foggy. But what would happen if I was foggy, if I wasn't clear, somebody trying to look at me the way I see the world?
I love that.
The other thing would be the idea of, you know, whatever's going on, maybe around me with all of the dates of the calendars since 1985 spread out around me. I don't know.
These are all amazing ideas. If you were to make your the foggy idea of how would people see, like people seeing you, like how you see them, you could put some film, you know, like kitchen transparent film paper from the kitchen. You could put it on top of the lens and put a little bit of Vaseline on it to make it look like so that it looks kind of like what you're saying, the blurriness or like the fogginess. That's one thing. You could also do that through what is called, oh, this is such this is a little bit of an advanced technique, but it's called it basically you're slow down the frame when you're shooting so that you're kind of like you're in movement and your movement alone gets the image blurry. So for that, you would need to use the Lightroom app to take the picture. It has its own camera function, but basically where it says seconds, you make it super slow. So when it says, so your shutter speed is slower, that's the how fast it goes. And when you slow it down, how fast the camera can take the picture, but you're moving in the frame, then you become blurry. So that's also like a fun way to do it in photography. I actually did a picture. I guess I can show it on my Instagram. I did exactly this technique and I guess I want to show you real quick. Let's see. Okay. Well, this is just out of focus, which I also think it's kind of cool, which you can do that on post. You can just make it out of focus, or you can do it on camera too. Oh, where is it? Okay. Oh, it's that image, but it's just the cover of something. So this is part of that image too. It's just like me moving my head and it just, here it is. So I'm just doing this with my hair, but the shutter speed is so slow that it feels blurry on the action. So everything blends in. And you can just be doing this, you know, and it would be super blurry. Just not, you don't need to move that much when you lower the shutter speed. If that makes any sense. Obviously you can DM me if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think I want to see if there's any other questions of someone. Okay, Lightroom, slow it down. Shaking the phone mid-shot could create, yes, that too. I was just thinking just because you would be outside of the shot, not grabbing your phone, but yes, works better in low light. What if there's no activity that can be done except being in bed, need basic functions, even that much? Well, I think that I think I showed some photos on the thing that are just in bed. I think it's important to know that this is for you, right? So it needs to work for you wherever you're at. Like it doesn't need to be anything else other than it is. And so when you're thinking about this, let me see, there you go. When you're thinking about this from being in bed, it doesn't have to be your full body. It doesn't have to be like, it can be like even your feet. Like if you have socks and all you can wear is socks, like do you have socks that you really like? And then you want to just take a picture of your feet, just like being like what you see all day, you know, like what do you see from your bed? It doesn't have to be you. It could be like, what can you see from your bed that you see every day? Maybe there's something cool that happens in the window that you look forward to seeing. Maybe it's the sunset. Maybe it's I don't know. I want to hear more. Who's that person? Holly. Some of the most powerful photos of them showing people the reality. I think that's one. Yeah. Melisande, if you're still here, are you still here? Yes. Do you want to share more about some of the things that you can see from bed? That could be, maybe it's your ceiling, maybe it's your fan, maybe it's a part of your body that you got to see a lot more because you're in bed. I gotta go now. Pleasure meeting all of you. We'll connect. Okay, I need to wrap this up. I know we are going over time. If you have any other questions, just feel free to reach out. I'm an open book. And I'm so excited that you got to see a little glimpse of my world and that I got to see a glimpse of yours. And I think there's a lot that can happen from all of your sharings. And I'm just so excited to see what you create. Again, all you need is like to know, believe that you can do it at least 50%. And I think the rest happens in doing it. And I think you're great. And thank you so much for taking the time to learn.